Join me as I dive into the mindset of crisis-proof people and see if I can adopt their habits to come out on top in my own life. The people who make it through every crisis, the rare 1%, understand one powerful truth: survival is not a show, it's a strategy. They prepare in silence, while others brag about their gear, post pictures of their stockpiles, or tell neighbors exactly what they're storing. The 1% keep their mouths shut. They don't seek validation, they seek advantage. In a crisis, information is currency, and the more people know about your supplies, the more vulnerable you become. It's not paranoia, it's protection. When shelves are empty, when gas stations are dry, and when people are desperate, those who once seemed friendly might suddenly see your home as their lifeline. That's why the survivors train themselves to blend in long before disaster hits. They shop in small amounts over time so their buying habits don't draw attention. They store supplies in multiple hidden locations, not just in one big pantry that anyone could stumble upon. They practice skills in their own backyard, their garage, or quiet outdoor spots away from public eyes. And when conversations about what-if scenarios pop up, they nod, listen, maybe share a harmless tip or two, but never the full picture. Silent preparation isn't about being antisocial. It's about removing yourself from the mental resource map in other people's heads. When the power goes out and food becomes scarce, your name shouldn't be the first one they think of when they're hungry or scared. The 1% know that desperation can turn good people into dangerous people. Even family members, neighbors, and co-workers can make poor decisions when survival is on the line. By keeping their readiness private, survivors give themselves a better chance of avoiding those difficult confrontations altogether. Silent preparation also includes physical concealment. The 1% don't leave their generators, water barrels, or stacked firewood in plain sight. They camouflage their garden as landscaping, keep fuel in containers that look ordinary, and store food in places that don't scream emergency stash. They understand that the best defense is often to avoid becoming a target in the first place. If no one suspects you're better supplied than they are, you remove a major reason for someone to approach you during chaos. Even when disaster hits, the 1% keep their calm, low-profile mindset. If others are panicking and making noise, arguing, shouting, or publicly rushing for supplies, survivors move with quiet purpose. They don't attract attention to their movements, their tools, or their decisions. In the aftermath of a disaster, every sound, every hint of food, every light in the darkness can draw unwanted interest. Silent preparation naturally leads to silent survival. The bottom line is this: the 1% survive because they never give the world a reason to think they have something worth taking. They live prepared, but they look ordinary. They act capable, but they appear calm. And in doing so, they preserve the most valuable advantage in any crisis: the ability to move, eat, work, and live without becoming the center of someone else's desperate plan. The 1% who survive every crisis understand that skills outlast supplies. Stockpiles can be stolen, destroyed, or run out, but the ability to adapt and create solutions from what's available is a survival currency that can't be taken from you. While most people believe survival means having the right gear, the 1% know that knowledge and practice are worth far more than any gadget. They train themselves in core survival skills: purifying water, building shelter, starting a fire under any conditions, cooking without electricity, navigating without GPS, and treating injuries when there's no doctor in sight. These aren't things you plan to learn someday. The 1% practice them in real conditions until they become second nature. They also understand that book knowledge alone isn't enough. Reading about first aid isn't the same as stopping real bleeding. Watching a video on bushcraft doesn't mean you can make a shelter in the pouring rain. The survivors put themselves in controlled but challenging situations to test their skills, finding out where they're strong and where they need to improve. Because in a crisis, you won't have the luxury of trial and error. Another part of this mindset is versatility. The 1% don't just learn one way to do something, they learn multiple methods. If one fails, they have a backup, and if that fails, they have another. For example, they can filter water with commercial gear, improvise with charcoal and sand, or boil it over a fire. They can cook with propane, solar ovens, or even a basic rocket stove made from bricks. This layered approach ensures that even when resources are scarce, they can adapt. The 1% also know the value of cross-training. They don't limit themselves to wilderness skills. They practice urban survival too. This includes things like finding alternative water sources in a city, understanding building layouts for safety, learning basic mechanical repair, and even reading body language to avoid dangerous encounters. They aim to be capable in any environment because they know crises don't follow a script. Perhaps most importantly, they practice calm under pressure. In every drill, every practice scenario, they teach themselves to slow down, breathe, and think clearly instead of panicking. Skills are useless if your mind freezes or your hands shake too much to use them. The 1% treats stress management as a survival skill itself. By mastering essential skills, these survivors make themselves less dependent on fragile systems and vulnerable supplies. If their gear breaks, they can fix it. If they lose everything, they can rebuild. They know that while anyone can buy a piece of survival equipment, it's the trained, practiced, and confident person who will actually survive when the lights go out, the shelves go bare, and there's no one coming to save you. That's the secret. Their real survival kit is stored in their mind and in their hands, not just on their shelves. The 1% who survive every crisis know that their most valuable asset is their network, not just family and friends, but a carefully chosen group of people they trust, respect, and can rely on when everything falls apart. While many imagine survival as a lone wolf scenario, the truth is that in long-term crises, those who endure almost always have some form of strong community. These connections aren't accidental. They are built deliberately over time through mutual respect, shared skills, and proven loyalty. The 1% take the time before disaster strikes to identify who in their lives brings something to the table. It might be someone with medical training, mechanical skills, hunting or farming experience, or even a knack for organizing and planning under pressure. They understand that no single person can master every survival skill, and that a well-rounded group multiplies the odds of making it through hard times. They also know that trust is earned long before it's tested. The 1% put in the work to help their network when times are good, because in a crisis, people remember who stood by them. They offer advice, share resources, teach skills, and lend a hand, not for immediate gain, but to strengthen bonds. By doing this, they ensure that when the day comes, they aren't just calling in favors. They are activating a pre-built alliance. Importantly, the 1% choose their inner circle carefully. They understand that in survival situations, unreliable or selfish people can be more dangerous than the crisis itself. They look for those who are level-headed, dependable, and solution-focused, not driven by panic or greed. And they don't just pick people based on personality. They test them quietly through small challenges to see how they respond under stress. Another key factor is communication. The 1% set up ways to stay in contact with their trusted network even if normal systems fail. This could mean learning and practicing radio operation, agreeing on meeting points, or using code words and signals for safety. They don't wait until the grid goes down to figure it out. They drill these systems so everyone knows exactly what to do without hesitation. Resource sharing is also a part of this mindset, but it's done strategically. They understand that pooling skills and supplies can make everyone stronger, but only if the group is built on trust and mutual benefit. They might divide responsibilities. One person focuses on security, another on food production, another on medical readiness. This division of labor not only increases efficiency, but also reduces burnout. Finally, the 1% recognize that morale is as important as material resources. They make sure their network isn't just about survival, it's also about support. In long, drawn-out crises, having someone to watch your back, share a meal with, or even just talk to can be the difference between pushing forward and giving up. The bottom line is this: the 1% don't just prepare their homes, they prepare their people. When danger comes, they know they won't be facing it alone, and that gives them a strength and resilience most others will never have. Another secret of the 1% who survive every crisis is that they maintain a mindset of adaptability, mental flexibility that allows them to shift plans instantly without hesitation or emotional paralysis. While most people get stuck clinging to their original idea or routine, these survivors treat change not as a threat, but as an inevitable part of survival. They know that every plan is only good until reality punches it in the face, and when that happens, the ability to pivot can mean the difference between life and death. Adaptability for them starts with preparation, but not rigid preparation. Instead of memorizing one exact route to safety, they learn multiple ways to reach the same goal. Instead of stocking up on only one type of tool or resource, they diversify so that if one option is lost, damaged, or stolen, they can fall back on another. They build redundancies into their systems, from food storage to communications, so that no single point of failure can cripple their survival plan. This mental flexibility also extends to problem solving. The 1% make a habit of thinking in terms of what can I do with what I have right now. They don't waste energy complaining about what they lack. They focus immediately on how to use available resources in creative ways. For example, a tarp might be a makeshift shelter one day, a rainwater collector the next, and a privacy screen after that. They train themselves to see multi-purpose value in everything, which allows them to improvise solutions quickly when conditions change. Part of this adaptability comes from exposure to challenges before a real crisis hits. The 1% intentionally push themselves out of their comfort zones during normal times, learning to camp in bad weather, practicing skills with minimal tools, or even simulating supply shortages. These controlled hardships build confidence and teach them how to stay calm and resourceful when things don't go according to plan. By doing this, they train their brains to default to action rather than panic when faced with the unexpected. They also have an open mind when it comes to gathering information. While many people ignore signs of change because they don't fit their expectations, the 1% remain alert and ready to adjust based on new intel. They constantly scan their environment, ask questions, and reevaluate their position. If a safer route, better shelter, or smarter strategy appears, they don't cling to what they've already committed to. They pivot. Another key aspect is emotional adaptability. They know that fear, frustration, and disappointment can cloud judgment, so they practice staying emotionally steady under stress. This might mean taking a moment to breathe before acting, or leaning on mental exercises that help them think clearly in chaos. They understand that adaptability isn't just about changing physical plans, it's about keeping their mind in a state where change feels like an opportunity, not a loss. In the end, the 1% survive because they live by a simple truth. The situation will never go exactly as planned, But if you can bend without breaking, you can outlast almost anything. Their ability to shift gears instantly, make the best of what's in front of them, and see opportunity in chaos gives them an advantage that others, frozen in fear or stuck in outdated plans, will never have. Another defining trait of the 1% who survive every crisis is that they maintain a relentless focus on self-reliance. They do not wait for rescue, depend on luck, or assume that someone else will solve their problems. Instead, they cultivate the skills, knowledge, and mindset to handle challenges independently, knowing that in a true emergency, help may never come, or may come too late. This self-reliance is not built overnight. It's the result of consistent preparation, practice, and the belief that their survival ultimately rests in their own hands. For these individuals, self-reliance starts with skills rather than gear. While they value tools and resources, they understand that possessions can be lost, stolen, or destroyed. Skills, on the other hand, cannot be taken away. They learn how to purify water without a filter, start a fire in wet conditions, navigate without GPS, and treat injuries without modern medical supplies. They study basic mechanics, cooking from scratch, and defensive strategies. They make it a personal mission to ensure that if every convenience vanished tomorrow, they would still be able to function. This independence also means they plan for redundancy in essentials like food, water, and shelter. They store supplies for emergencies, but they also know how to replenish them. For example, they might keep a stocked pantry while also learning to grow food, forage, or fish. They might have bottled water stored, but they also carry portable filtration systems and know how to find natural water sources. This balance between stored resources and renewable skills ensures they are never entirely dependent on one fragile safety net. A big part of their self-reliance comes from mental toughness. The 1% understand that waiting for someone else to fix things can create a dangerous sense of passivity. In a crisis, inaction can be deadly. So, they train themselves to take initiative immediately. If a storm knocks out power, they don't sit in the dark wondering when the lights will come back. They light candles, check generators, secure food, and assess the safety of their home. They see themselves as their own first responder, always ready to take charge instead of waiting for instructions. Financial self-reliance also plays a role. Many people are one paycheck away from desperation, but the 1% prepare for economic instability just as they would for a natural disaster. They keep emergency funds, avoid unnecessary debt, and often invest in tangible assets that hold value even in unstable markets. This financial preparedness means they can make swift decisions, like relocating or buying needed supplies, without waiting for external help. Self-reliance doesn't mean isolation. It means being strong enough to contribute to and lead others when needed. These survivors often become the anchor for those around them, providing guidance and stability in the middle of chaos. They know that the ability to stand on their own 2 feet not only increases their chances of survival, but also allows them to protect and assist their loved ones. Ultimately, the 1% survive because they refuse to put their fate entirely in someone else's hands. By building skills, maintaining resources, strengthening their mindset, and staying ready to act without hesitation, they ensure that when disaster strikes, they are not helpless. They are already moving forward. The final trait that sets the 1% apart in every crisis is their unwavering adaptability. While preparation is critical, these individuals understand that no plan survives contact with reality exactly as imagined. Circumstances change, resources shift, and unexpected threats emerge. The 1% don't freeze when their original plan fails. They pivot instantly, using creativity and quick thinking to turn setbacks into opportunities for survival. Adaptability begins with mindset. They accept from the start that uncertainty is part of any crisis, so they're mentally ready for change before it happens. This prevents panic when the unexpected occurs. Instead of asking, "Why did this happen?" they ask, "What's my next move?" They keep their emotions in check, focusing on solutions rather than dwelling on problems. This calm approach allows them to assess situations logically, even in high-stress moments. A huge part of adaptability is the ability to improvise. These survivors can take limited or unfamiliar resources and use them in unconventional ways. A tarp can become a water collector, a piece of wire can be turned into a snare, and a broken tool can be repurposed into something functional. This isn't luck. It's the result of years of practicing resourcefulness and creative problem solving. They regularly train themselves to think outside the box, so when real emergencies hit, they already have the mental flexibility to adjust. Adaptability also means staying informed and reading situations in real time. The 1% keep their eyes and ears open, constantly evaluating threats and opportunities. If they see signs that a location is becoming unsafe, they relocate before danger peaks. If supplies start to run low, they adjust their consumption and explore alternatives before hitting a critical shortage. This proactive decision-making keeps them ahead of the curve while others are still reacting. Physical adaptability plays a role as well. The 1% often maintain good physical fitness, not just for appearance, but because crises can demand sudden bursts of energy, strength, or endurance. They might need to climb over obstacles, carry heavy loads, or travel long distances on foot. Being in shape gives them more options when adapting to a rapidly changing environment, whether it's escaping danger or simply enduring harsh conditions longer than most people could. They also practice adaptability in communication and relationships. In a crisis, social dynamics can change quickly. Alliances may form or dissolve, trust may be tested, and new opportunities for cooperation can arise unexpectedly. The 1% can read people, adjust their approach, and work with others when it benefits survival, while also knowing when to cut ties if a situation becomes risky. Ultimately, adaptability is the bridge between preparation and survival. You can have all the supplies, skills, and plans in the world, but if you can't adjust when reality shifts, you'll be left behind. The 1% not only prepare for the expected, they prepare for the unexpected by staying flexible, resourceful, and ready to act. This ability to change course at a moment's notice is what allows them to stay alive when others falter,